Bills.
What is up, man?
Hello.
Hey. Sorry, let me just adjust my cam. Okay. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. What time is it there?
It is, I have to check. It's 8 p.m. here. So,
That explains why you didn't want to do this evening our time.
Exactly. I think 10 p.m. you would not be getting me anything useful. So, yeah, thanks for shifting the time for me.
No
I appreciate it.
All about making it the best, easiest for the guests.
Yeah, I'm really actually excited to have this conversation,
It's
Ross.
so cool.
So we are going to record this. So for the audience, this is Ross Barber-Smith of Electric Kiwi. You created that, right?
Yeah, there's no interesting story behind the name. Don't ask me.
Okay.
There's
You put
really nothing.
some cool things
Just a good
together.
name.
It's a good name.
All right.
Well done.
I mean, I like it. And it's online visuals for artists.
Yeah, but so basically websites for musicians is my main thing. Custom awesome websites for musicians, and do the odd bit of album artwork as well. But I would say up front, I'm not an illustrator. So if you need someone to actually draw you something, I'm not your guy.
Hey, I looked at some of the artwork. You would never tell you weren't a visual editor or anything. They look unreal, man. They're very cool, different pieces. Some of them are actually I would never not guess that. So
thank you.
keep the dreams high.
Is it a team? Is it a team or is it just you?
So it's mostly me. I do have a development assistant that helps me out when there's some more technical things that I'm struggling with, or if I'm too busy with emails, which is a lot of the time. So I do have a guy who helps me out with a few things here and there. I'm very grateful to him. I'll say hey to Nev in case he's out there, but he's in India, so I think time difference, I'm pretty sure he's asleep right now.
He might be
surprised if he's not.
Technology's cool like that, man. Here we are in Canada. You're over there in England, right?
Scotland, very close.
Okay, sorry. Hey, listen,
it's
like
okay.
we're pretty. Hey, Dave, I feel like there's a big misrepresentation that you guys don't understand how little they teach us about Europe on this side of the world. Like we know it's there, but we don't know much. So we're pretty ignorant on this side. But so are you building with bands all over the world?
Yep, all over. I would say probably the majority of my clients are US based. I would say maybe 60-70% are US, then the rest are spread out. UK, Canada. I've had a couple of artists in Australia, some in other parts of Europe as well, but mostly US and UK.
Right on. Now, one of the questions I had, because I was reading up about you. You ended up going to school, university, to study the music, I should say.
Think about your words before.
I know. I'm just like I get hyper trying to speak. How did the whole idea to create the company end up like creating itself? Like, what inspired you to go? I gotta create this.
So I've been designing websites since I was like 12. It was very different back then. There was a lot of I can't even really think how to describe what websites were like back in, what year would this be, like the late 90s. Very different world. So a friend, she designed a website, and I was like, well, if you're going to design a website, then I'm going to design a website. And we had this kind of competition going on to do a better website. And finally, she's actually doing websites now as her kind of freelance career, which is kind of cool.
Right.
So we still have this little bit of competition going on, but it's very friendly, very friendly. So no, I've been doing that for a long time, but music was like the one thing that always really excited me. So I thought I wanted to be a musician, so I decided to go to university doing popular music. Vocals was my instrument, and all was going well until my last year. And we had a project which was like an hour-long performance based on a subject of our choice.
Interesting.
So maybe I was just being ambitious or something. I was really kind of into like the whole kind of grunge revival at that point. So I thought, why don't I do a project which is the influence of grunge on popular music? So there would be some songs by like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and then there'd be some modern stuff. And I tried to find ways of saying, I tried to use songs that I liked and try and work a way that grunge influenced them, even if really it didn't.
Looking for something that maybe wasn't there.
I'm trying to fill out this performance for the hour, you know.
Exactly. But the problem was that, like, so we had to assemble a band to perform these songs. But in the year that I was in, there was only like maybe six of us in the whole course at that point, because
Oh
only
wow.
six of us stayed on to the very end. So we had to basically assemble this band of people who were in the years below us. And they weren't graded on it, so it didn't really mean anything to them.
Oh.
So I think you can see where this is going. So my band didn't really, to be fair, not all of them. Some of them didn't learn the songs, so it kind of got to like the performance day, and it all like fell apart. Like no one knew what they were doing. Here's me singing these songs that were not really where my strengths as a vocalist were. So it kind of all fell apart, and I came very close to failing the entire course based on that one performance. But
Wow.
luckily,
But you did. Yeah.
I didn't, because my written work and my evaluation, everything else pulled my grade up enough that I
Right on.
graduated 1% off of first class honors, which is I'm still kind of annoyed at.
Oh,
It's all
one
good. It's all
story.
good. It's all
So-
good. But yeah, so I kind of lost a lot of confidence in the performing side. I realized the kind of rejection and all that stuff is not for me. So I do salute musicians who face this kind of stuff every day, because it's not an
Yeah,
easy
power through it.
thing to
Absolutely.
do.
Yes.
So,
Social media is the son of a bitch with people. The keyboard is the most powerful weapon. It feels like it's terrible.
It can be really tough. So I kind of figured that because I'd been doing websites for so long myself, and there was a class in university where we had to basically, we were kind of thrown to the wolves with some of the stuff. They're like, we need you to do a project called promotion and marketing. Here's some stuff we printed off from Google. Go and do it. And we're like, okay, okay. So I decided I built a website to promote myself as a singer-songwriter, and the aim was to get like 100 people to subscribe to my mailing list, which is funny because it's all the stuff that I do now, but I didn't realize at that point it was going to be like foreshadowing what my future was going to be.
Yeah.
So I kind of just decided that I wanted to work in the music industry doing some digital kind of stuff. So I graduated, couldn't get a job doing what I wanted, so I did the kind of jobs that no one really likes to do, but you have to do to pay the bills, like waiter, call center, all that stuff, while trying to find some like intern and freelance opportunities on the side. And then an artist that I'd followed for many years online, Tara Naomi, I'd actually contacted her for part of my degree research. She tweeted that she was looking for an intern in LA.
Oh.
And I tweeted her and I was like, you know, hey, it's like, I'm exactly who you need, but I'm just in the wrong place. But could we talk anyway? And she messaged me back saying, yep, let's talk. And her and I ended up doing some work together. And then kind of one thing led to another. She introduced me to a couple of her friends who were coming over to the UK to do touring. And she's like, you know, will you take them out for dinner? They don't know anyone. It's their first time there. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. I'll take this guy out for dinner. And what's his name? Tyler. Oh, Tyler. I Googled him and I was like, okay, this guy actually is a big deal. He's been in films with Robert Downey Jr. He was in One Tree Hill. Okay, that's cool. We'll take him out for dinner.
We're upgrading a 3-star steakhouse to 5-star.
I guess I could take him for dinner.
It was just really cool. Like, it was just taking him out, and then he and I ended up working on a website together, and it just kind of it was really that first her and then her introduction that all just kind of led to everything, to just one thing led to another.
That's awesome.
So I have a question about the visual. I think a lot of bands, especially like once I'm only talking about talented bands here. Like we have to get, we're not talking about garage band, but like once you actually have the talent, I think a huge amount of them really hone in on their sound, and they actually maybe forget that they have to look good too. So how do you reconcile with that? And then how do you make a visual that matches someone's sound?
I mean, for me, when it comes to building the website, the photography is a big thing. And that can be a bit of a sticking point sometimes, because you're right. I think a lot of artists spend a lot of time honing their sound, and they maybe spend quite a lot on the recording and the production side of things, which is great because you want your music to sound its best.
It has to be good.
It does. It has to be, especially now when there's, you know, it's so easy to get stuff recorded and out there. I think you have to make sure that the quality is there. But yeah, I think what a lot of bands maybe don't think about, they get all excited in the recording and all that, but then what's the point in having great music if no one's going to hear it? So they neglect to think about the marketing side of things. And I would say like the website and your social media and the design aspect all comes under the marketing umbrella. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration, because it's such a shame. The thing that upsets me so much is when a band spends a lot of money recording and then they don't get the success, or they don't reach the amount of people that they feel they should, and then they get discouraged, and then it kind of just leads to a whole
balls.
and it's sad. So I think some very basic tips, because it's different for artists, from artist to artist and genre to genre, kind of what works. I think some of the general tips I would have is, if you're a country band, for example, then your color scheme is probably not going to be black and red like a death metal band, for example. Or, you need to make sure that the image that you're projecting matches not only the kind of music that you make, but also who you are as an artist. So I think thinking about why you make the music, who you're making it for, they're important things to think about. Like, who is your target market? Like, who do you want to be listening to?
Who's your audience? Who's going to be showing up at your shows? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I think
is color the most important part?
I wouldn't say it's the most important part, but I would say it probably does play a role. Because there are some colors I think that you associate more with some genres than others.
Of course.
So you want to make sure that you're kind of trying to. I wouldn't say you have to be strict with it, but just don't go like the polar opposite, unless that's kind of your thing. So
yeah.
It's difficult,
all right. Well,
any advice that you give, it's always difficult, because some artists, a country artist, for example, may not be your typical country artist. They might focus on like a subset of country, for example, that maybe that works for them. So what I would suggest as maybe a starting point, because I know a lot of artists struggle maybe to think of where to start with this kind of thing, is have a think about who maybe your main 5 influences are, and see what they're doing with their photography, with their fonts and their color. Not to copy them, but to get an idea of,
inspired almost.
This is sort of the lane that we should be in, but how can we make this more us and not just a copy of what someone else is doing? I see a question asking, where's Loki? Loki is my dog, and he is not in the room. This happened last night as well on another instance.
I didn't know. I was going to comment about that, but I just didn't know if they meant you. I didn't know if that would be offensive. And then I was like, well, who is this person?
Loki's more popular on Instagram than I am. Any picture I
What
put
kind
up
of dog
Loki,
do you have?
He's a miniature Dachshund. He's like the little dog on this mug here.
Oh,
those are one of the bombest dogs out there. Those
oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm a big dog person myself, so.
We usually have cats that are attacking us in the background. Honestly, we're gifted today that they're not.
We have a baby, like a kitten, I guess a little more than a kitten now, like in the toddler years, and it just messes with your feet under here. Like if you see us jump or anything, it's the cat for sure.
Right, okay.
Hand will go back.
Are you, when you're building these websites, are you also handling things like, I know you mentioned a mailing list earlier, like you're also doing that for bands as well?
So I tend not to do that for them, but I will advise on, based on like the size of their audience and the kind of things they want to achieve, I'll advise on the platform that suits them, and I will help get things set up, but I tend not to run it unless they actually ask me to. But yeah, I'll always do my best to point them in the right direction, and I try and tailor all the advice very specifically to them, because the way that I approach the website building is that every artist is different, so your website should be unique to you. And I realize everyone's circumstances are different, all your goals are different, so I try and make sure that any plan that we put together is very specific to that particular artist, because what works for one person doesn't work for someone else.
Very true, very true. Have you ever had requests that you've immediately, like right off the bat, you've been like, you know what? Let's do this. And like they approach you, you're like, we can do this. That ultimately have being super rewarding at the end, where you sit back and you're like, we did it.
There have been some requests that have been not crazy, but ambitious. Let's say ambitious, and not something that I've done before. So when it comes to those, I'm usually excited because I can imagine how it's going to turn out, but also a bit nervous that maybe it's too much to take on, or it's going to just be more difficult than I anticipate. So I think I learned this initially, because initially I heard some advice which was, say yes to everything and learn it later. And I don't really like that advice because it can get you into some sticky situations. So I think it's finding the balance. I think it's being open to these new things, but I think be careful and research them before you actually say yes, which is what I've learned.
Do you have a story? Did you do that and it bit you in the ass?
Yes, kind of. And I think we all have at some point. And again, it was more me being excited that this client approached me about the project that they wanted.
It's an awesome opportunity to say no to. Like, I mean, I can't. I feel so bad saying no. I gotta say yes almost.
Yeah, and it was a great project that they wanted me to be involved in. But my problem was I didn't ask enough questions at the start. So I underestimated how much work was going to be involved. So I'd set the price too low. They had more expectations that things were going to be involved that we hadn't even discussed. Which is then completely overcomplicated everything. So I think we kind of both agree we both made some mistakes, and so it was very amicable the way that we finished things.
That's good.
But that was a big lesson. That was a big lesson.
So are there any particular questions that you make sure not to miss now? Like, pricing yourself accurately is extremely important, and I think it's something that a lot of artists, not wanting to be a sellout, whatever that actually means, they don't want to price too high. But like, you gotta eat.
You also
have to eat.
You gotta value your work. You know, your work has certain value.
That's right, and not everybody can do what Ross Barber-Smith can do. So there is a value that you're adding. You know, so how do you price yourself now? Like, what kind of tangibles are you looking at to make sure you're not underselling yourself?
I think because I've been doing this for so long now, I can get quite a good idea of how long specific things are going to take. So when a client contacts me, the main things I try and figure out from them initially are kind of what they already have in terms of photography, logo, and any ideas that they've got, what their goals are, what the main purpose of the site's going to be over the next 12 to 18 months or so, whether that's promoting a new release or, if they've got a tour coming up, if that's the main focus. And the big one for me is really just kind of nailing down how many sections they're going to have and what those sections are, because that will determine how much work's involved in setting the various parts up. So I think I've kind of, for the most part, for when it comes to a band or an artist website, I've got my process pretty nailed down. It's when it's something a little bit outside of that, whether maybe it's like a booking agency or someone that's maybe selling beats or something like that, which is not what I do day to day, but I do sometimes. That's where I need to give it a little bit more thought because that's always slightly different.
Yeah. What else is this going to need that a band might not need from me?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to kind of jump in and ask questions that I think will come up later to avoid them coming up at an unexpected time. Because for me, like one of the things I hate the most, I would hate to spring on someone that, I quoted you this amount, but actually we're going to need to increase this by this amount, because it's not fair on them, but I understand that I need to be paid what I'm worth. So that's why I try and want to get that, figure out as early on as possible, just to avoid any unexpected mistakes or anything like that.
Absolutely. Have the COVID times been like, I know the musician world and everything has kind of virtually came to a stop. Have you stopped working behind the scenes? Have people still been coming at you, designing websites, and also, doing album art?
Also, on top of that, has it been crazy over there, or is it normal? Like,
that's true.
What's life like for you during this?
So work-wise, I feel like I've still been just as busy as usual, except it's a different type of busy. So it's mostly kind of existing clients coming to me for work that they've maybe been planning to do for a while, but have been putting it off because they were too busy gigging, and now they're not gigging, so they've got all the time to do that. A few new projects would come along, but not as many as would normally happen, which I understand, because no one knows how long things are going to be like this for. And in terms of what it's like here, Scotland and England are kind of two different stories. So Scotland's been not hit as hard. We've, at least certainly in the last few days or last week, I think we've had maybe 9 deaths and only a handful of new cases. Whereas in
Right on.
England, they're still having a few hundred or somewhere around 100 plus deaths per day, and
Wow.
quite a few new cases.
Wow.
So we're feeling okay here. Scotland is taking a more cautious approach and everything.
Borders closed, restrictions on traveling.
Probably not
borders aren't closed between England, but certainly with foreign travellers, there's quarantines for anyone that's coming in. So I think it's a 14-day quarantine. But yeah, we're taking a bit more of a cautious approach. So whereas England tend to be opening things maybe a couple of weeks ago, we're hanging back a couple of weeks, even though we've had a smaller number of cases, smaller number of deaths. I think
probably is because
very aware of how bad it could be. And I know that Scotland's economy, like so much of it is based on tourism. So it's so important that we get to the point where we can actually welcome people back and get that all up and running again. So it's not been as crazy as I know the US has been particularly bad. I'm not sure about Canada, how bad Canada's been.
Just certain parts, like a lot. Canada's really spread out. In terms of a virus, like it's actually quite nice. Most of it's pretty rural, but we're in Toronto, Mississauga area, and like it's quite dense, and there's still quite a few sicknesses each
We're
day.
starting to get about under a couple hundred cases a day for new diagnoses.
What's the population like in Scotland, like the whole country?
So I mean, the country, I think our population is maybe like 5 million, and we're similar to you guys.
Yeah.
I think that the big cities have a very densely packed population, but then we've got so many rural towns and villages.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So I think in many ways we're in a good place like that. And certainly the town that I live, we're 30 minutes outside Glasgow. It's only 15,000 population. So I think as long as not too many people here have it, you're probably okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine, man. Well, I'm really happy that you're doing good over there, brother. Like some people are living in fear right now, and I'm happy to see that you are. Yeah.
I don't really go out anyway, so I leave the house anyway. So it's kind of the
This
same.
guy orders. We have Uber Eats over here. You guys have that on your side. This is the king here. He's the king. Like he.
Oh, it's a king. But I use it.
They know you by name.
What's that?
They know you by name. They see your name.
No,
we know this guy.
I wish they would get more discounts. Once the discounts come around, I'll get off first name basis.
That's super funny. My favorite part when I was reading through the Electric Kiwi website, at the very bottom, it has like a paragraph that says, you're not getting a designer or something like this. You're getting a bandmate who's joining you for the journey. And I think that's awesome. So can you just talk to that for a second?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I enjoy most about what I do, as well as the design, is actually, collaborating with the artists that I work with, and I consider a lot of them to be friends as well. Like, I just really enjoy seeing kind of how where they are when we start working together and how things progress as we go along. And if I'm able to help them, whether that's making a connection to a publicist that I know, or a manager that I know, or even another artist I work with, and I think you guys would make a really great collaboration, why not introduce you to by
Absolutely.
see what happens. So that's kind of what I mean when I say that I become like part of the band or part of the team, is like I feel that I can offer more than just the design. I can help you connect with other people that will hopefully do
You
more
offer a
work with
personal
you.
touch.
Yeah, because that's a problem I think with a lot of agencies, and even some designers that maybe don't specialize in music, is that it's just a job. So it's like, they do the job, they do it well, they get the money, but then that's it. That's their involvement done. And I don't really like that. No, that's not for me.
You wanna be connected. You wanna stay connected. You wanna see them grow. You wanna see them grow, and then also grow with them. You want to be there to help them again in the future, because you were there in the past. You want to be there to support them. Then you want to, it's simple as that. Sounds just simple as that. I like that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And to me, the music business is a relationship business. So, you have to have good relationships with the people that you work with and other people that work in the industry, whether you actually work with them directly or not. And I think it's important to keep that up. It can be difficult sometimes, especially, when it's across, just through a computer screen, across the ocean, wherever. It can be tough, but I think it's definitely important.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So at what point in their career does a band reach out to you?
Some So some I would say too early, some I would say too late, some I would say I get it just about right. It's a tough one to answer, because everyone's circumstances are different.
Totally.
I think some artists are very eager because they've done the reading. They know how important it is to have a website, to have some good visuals to accompany the music. But sometimes they maybe do that too early when the music's not there yet, and there's not really a need to be kind of investing in that. Whereas some artists do the opposite, and they try and do too much themselves, and then it's kind of a case where we need to start over because sometimes it's not good. But and then again, it's so tough because there's value in learning things yourself. There's value in doing stuff yourself to a point, because it helps you as an artist know if someone's doing a good job, and it helps you guide them to do the stuff that you want them to do.
Communication, yeah. If I don't know your language, how can I ask you for something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so crucial.
Yeah, it's really important, and I think you know, I would say there's never really a wrong time to reach out to someone that you want to work with, but I think it's important that you only work together when you both feel that the timing is right. Because I'm not going to be able to do my best job for an artist if they're underprepared or they need to do a little bit more work. And likewise, if they've already got it nailed down, like if they've already got great stuff, I'm not going to try and give them something they don't need. I can maybe advise on what I would do differently, but I'm not going to try and force them to, take a different path if what they've already got is going the right way.
Yeah, it's a matter of, can I actually help you moving forward?
Yeah.
I love that, man. I love that.
That's awesome.
When did this officially start for you? Because you had the regular jobs, you mentioned, barista and waiter and all these things, but so you met, it was at the intern, that's what happened? You came to LA?
Oh, no, I didn't go to LA. No, that's what I meant when I said I was in the wrong location. So I messaged her, I'm in the wrong location. I was like, but I want to work with you.
Right,
so it just ended up being an online thing. So, when was that? That would be 2010, I think.
Okay, so you've been doing this for decades.
Yep. So I was doing that while I was also working. I think at that point I was working for a digital agency. We were doing websites for like hotels and other kind of corporate clients, which wasn't really of any interest to me, but it was a good way to learn how the agency works and how to actually work with clients. So I was doing that and doing a couple of freelance things on the side for Terra and then for a couple of other people. Then it kind of got to a point where I realized I really enjoy doing this, but don't enjoy these clients. So I decided now I can try and do this by myself.
Let's jump off the diving board and do it ourselves.
Yeah. And that was scary, especially I would say for the first 6 months or so. Every day is kind of like, where's the next client coming from? My social media was so big for me for that. I've met so many clients through Twitter at that point. And just by building up a good reputation and getting introduced by other clients, that's really what I would say. Like for anyone that's wanting to do this kind of career in the music industry or otherwise, building a really good relationship with those first few clients and get them to spread the word for you, so you don't have to do that as much.
Word of mouth just comes free of charge.
What kind of things would you recommend someone focuses on in order to actually build that relationship with the first few? That's
a hard question. I'm trying to think like what I do. I mean, one easy way is people bond over their pets. Obviously, not everyone has pets, but like we talked about, my dog, your cats. People bond over that kind of stuff.
People love pets.
I think if you can find something in common with whoever you're working with, whether it's closely related to what you're doing or otherwise, that can be a really good way of building a connection. Like I have a podcast with he started out as a client, but I would say he's more a friend now than a client, who's based very close to you guys, actually. He's in Hamilton. And so we bond. I can't remember. We would end up having these calls about his website, but they would end up being like 3 hours long. So we would just get sidetracked and just start talking about other stuff, whether it's music or whatever. And that's just that's how our friendship grew. And that's happened to me with lots of clients as well. It's like you talk about work, but then if you're asking how they're doing, they'll drop little bits of information in an email, and then you can pick up on that. And if you remember the names, like for example, if you remember what they've said that their wife's called, you can just say, oh, how's your wife doing? How's the family? And people do just start to tell you a bit more, and it becomes, it's still a working relationship, but it becomes more than just a very corporate thing. It becomes a more personal thing. And you're not going to click massively with everyone. There will be some people that you get on with better than others, and they're probably going to be the ones that you have the stronger relationship with, and maybe a longer working relationship with as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just finding things in common and remembering things that they tell you. I think that's a big thing, is remembering names of their family, their kids, and the things that they mention to you. They're mentioning them because they're important. So just try to remember them and bring them back when relevant.
That was extremely good
awesome.
advice, man.
Yeah, so well.
Really well said. Where can people find you? I know it's like .co.uk, and I don't want to mess it up. So what's the actual address of the email there, the website?
Yeah, so it's electrickiwi.co.uk. So it's electric as in electric, kiwi as in the bird or the fruit, either or. .co.uk. Not to be confused with the energy company in New Zealand with the same name. You'll be able to tell the difference. You'll also
really
Electric Kiwi.
yeah.
Has that presented problems?
Okay.
No,
because we're so different. Because location-wise we're so different, and the services we offer are completely different. We're all good.
Bro, I looked up your company, but all I got was electric grids and power bills.
No, he said it was a sport drink. Could you like collaborate?
Oh.
You could build their website or something. I don't know. That'd be pretty crazy. Two same names. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'd be a bit scared.
They can supply free energy drinks to all of your clients on stage.
I mean, that part I like. That
Dude, I really appreciate you coming on and letting us pick your brain, man. You gave a lot of really succinct, good answers, man. I have a lot written down. At 10 minutes in, you said, what's the point of having good music if no one's going to hear it? That's a kick-ass line. That's a really good line. I don't think enough people I really think that people get lost in the song and forget that they actually have to bring it to a huge group of people. Like step 2 is show everyone. And that gets lost. How many people have a hard drive of good music that's just never gone? No visual, no shopping around.
That's a shame.
Sorry?
And that is a shame. That's such a shame.
It is.
And I do think, it has to start with the music. The music is number one, and it has to be the most important part. But there are loads of pieces to this puzzle, and they're all important. So yeah, make sure you're focusing on getting that out there.
Yeah, man.
Distribution, that's huge.
Thank you so much. Dude, seriously, thank you for coming on. We were at one now. Now I know the time difference. I'm happy we moved it. Dude, I would have felt awful if we kept you.
It's all good. It's all good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for accommodating my time. And hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Maybe we'll be using your services. Look out for a message from us, man.
Oh, I will do.
Thanks, brother. Talk to you, okay?
No worries. Stay safe. Speak soon.
You